Well, it's official. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul is a professional boxing match. It will be sanctioned as a pro match, meaning it's on the records of Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, meaning there is no head guards. It's not exhibition and taking it lightly with each other. They're going for the kill. And I told you this when they announced the fight. Do you know how I knew this? Despite idiots coming out with these rumors about it being head guards and all this bullshit. Well, for one thing, Netflix is paying for it. So they're not going to pay all that cash to have these two in front of however many 100,000 people at the Texas Arena to just have a light spar. So that was obvious. But secondly, have you not been watching Jake Paul against all of these MMA legends like Anderson Silva? Did he take it easy on him? No. He wants those names on his record, and he wants, as I said, to stand over Mike Tyson, knocked out unconscious, hand in the air, with win over Mike Tyson on his pro boxing record. It's irrelevant in Jake Paul's eyes if Mike Tyson's 58 or not. It's about him being able to say to everyone, I beat Mike Tyson. And some people might hate Jake Paul for that. And you know what? I get it, right? Mike's a legend. But ultimately, Mike's also a grown-ass man himself, and he's deciding he's going to do this. And I don't really blame him, because it's in Mike Tyson to fight. We can't just expect that just not be there anymore. It's going to be there till the day he dies. But the people who you can point the finger at is the commission in Texas who have sanctioned this, because it's going to be 8 2-minute rounds. And why is it going to be 8 2-minute rounds? Why is it not 3-minute rounds? Because one of the fighters is 58 fucking years old. So we've got to change the rules to give him a chance, haven't we? And if you've got to do that, well, then it's not a fair fight, is it? And if it's not a fair fight, should it be sanctioned by a commission? Exactly. But as we all know, money talks. And it just shows they don't give a fuck about fighter safety. There was a kid just killed last week in a boxing ring. It happens a lot, man. Now, they've gone with 14-ounce gloves, and to be honest, I'm not really sure who that's for. Like, if Mike's going to win this, it's probably going to be early on with a knockout. He's got a better chance of that with smaller gloves on, probably. But then on the other hand, at 58 years old, can he even take a punch anymore? 14-ounce, 8-ounce, 10-ounce, doesn't really matter. Like, if, when your chin goes, your chin's gone. And there's that old saying of, power's the last thing to go. Absolutely it is. Do you know what's one of the first things to go? Speed and your chin. So it's still a fucking dangerous fight. I will say, the 2-minute rounds does give me a little bit of hope for Mike now. Like, when you've got bad cardio, which Mike won't have bad cardio for a 58-year-old, but compared to Jake Paul, he shouldn't be anywhere near as fit. That 2 minutes gives him a window where he can unload more shots and not be as worried about gassing out in the 3rd minute of the round. And also, if he's struggling a bit, he hasn't got as much time to cover up, to take the punishment of Jake Paul before he can make it to the end of the round, so that, worst case scenario, he makes it to a decision with Jake Paul, he doesn't get stopped. And in terms of Mike actually landing that knockout, if he's got 3 minutes to handle, he's just not going to be able to let his hands go as a 58-year-old man and not fear gassing out. He's not going to be able to unload, because he's going to be thinking, fuck, what if I throw too many, I gas out, and then I'm a sitting duck for a kid who's fucking 30 years younger than me. So 2 minutes gives him a prayer of being able to let the hands go, and yeah, I might gas a bit, but then by the time I do, what have I got, a minute left of the round, I could probably get through that. That's possibly what he's thinking. A little bit of training footage of Mike here. Alright, there's power in them. There's definitely some power there still, for sure. You can just hear the thud in the pads there to know that that's there. Yes, sir. Yes. Look, that's impressive, right? For 58 years old, in fact, it's unbelievable. But it is always the same thing of those tiny little 3-second clips. Like, anyone can look good for 3-second clips, especially someone like Mike Tyson, right? It's not giving us a lot. And maybe that's a good idea for him. Maybe he doesn't want Jake Paul to know where the vulnerabilities are. I'd feel a lot better if I seen him getting cracked in sparring, just to understand, like, where is the resistance here? What is the fitness like? How is he looking when he's in the middle of a round? So, yeah, it gives me a little bit of confidence and hope for him that he's going to perform and look somewhat good for his age, but there's still a lot that we need to know. Like, how does he respond in the middle of a spar when he gets cracked at this age? Because Father Time waits for no man, right? And by the way, Father Time isn't just arriving at Mike Tyson's door now. It got there 10 years ago. And for fighters, 45, 50, that's when their ability to take punishment massively decreases. And a lot of them in their head, they're still the same guy. And they find out the hard way. Chuck Liddell, for example, when he was in his late 30s, he could still take a shot. He could still give out punishment. I'll show you. Chuck and Vanderlei just trading. Chuck was about 38, 39 here, so still on the older side for fighting, But he could take a shot and still keep coming back here, as you can see. Now this is Chuck at 48 years old. So this is 10 years younger than Mike Tyson is going to be in the boxing ring. Remember that. And this might not be a fair representation, right? Because Mike Tyson obviously moves better at 58 than Chuck is moving here. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about his ability to take damage. And again, the commentary are saying, oh, power's the last thing to go. See? One punch from Tito Ortiz, who was 43 at the time. Just one straight shot. It was the first shot he took in the fight. Down immediately. That was Chuck Liddell, 10 years younger than Mike Tyson's going to be when he fights Jake Paul. And Jake Paul does not hit like Tito Ortiz. Tito Ortiz has never had power. Never been a good puncher. Jake Paul can crack. So this idea that 14-ounce gloves is going to make a difference, I don't know. Like, there's a chance that Mike Tyson, as sad as this is, because he's 58 years old, not for any other reason, will be obliterated pretty quickly here. That's a possibility, man. And look, I'm not saying Mike Tyson and Chuck Liddell are the same thing. They are not. Mike Tyson was a special fighter. Chuck was a good fighter in MMA, but Mike was something different to him, completely. But it's still an important argument to make. And Chuck hadn't had anywhere near the 20 years out of the cage that Tyson has had out of the ring. And there's a graphic of how many days it's been since Jake Paul and Mike Tyson had a professional boxing match. Jake Paul, 58 days. Mike Tyson, 6,897 days. Let that sink in. So the more I think about it, the more I'm like, fuck. Like, yeah, the 2 minutes helps a little bit, yada, 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 but this is still so fucking dangerous. This is mental even. The thing is, if Mike Tyson does pull off this upset, it's like the fairy tale ending to his fight career, which he didn't have in his pro career. It went out sad. He was getting beat by guys who shouldn't even been in there with him, which is kind of a clue of what's to come, in my opinion. But still, Jake Paul isn't as good as those guys who he was in the ring with. But he's just so old. This is like that story, that old dude who used to box gets burgled by some kid and then he knocks him out, right? Like, it would make Mike Tyson the ultimate hero who finally put an end to this fake pretend influencer boxer sort of thing. That's just not how I see it going. But if he pulls this off, he's a fucking hero to the boxing world. So let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the idea of Jake Paul having a win, an actual legitimate win on his boxing record over Mike Tyson? Because if this goes down the way I think it will, I think it's going to piss a lot of people off. And look, if you're Jake Paul, lean into it. Become the legend killer. Try and fight as many boxing legends as you can. Maybe try and go after someone younger who's still got more in the tank than Mike after this, and make it his thing. And then he doesn't have to fight proper pro boxers who are in their prime, which, you know, I know he's been talking about having a world title and all that, but like, actions speak louder than words. We haven't seen that. So if he does want to keep making big fights, I think that that's the road to go down. Now, before I go, I want to talk about the sad news that Francis Ngannou's son has died. I didn't know he had a son. I think most of you probably didn't. And like, you know, a lot of people in the public eye, he keeps things to himself like that, and respect to him for wanting to protect his family. But to hear this news was some of the saddest news I think I've ever heard, because you all know I have so much respect and admiration for this man, what he's been through in his life. To even go through that and to be alive to tell the story is special. To go through that and to manage to become heavyweight champion of the world and to do things no one else could have even dreamt of, let alone have achieved. He's a special man, Francis, and he's a great man. You know, when I met him, he came into the studio and brought his heavyweight belt, and he was so lovely and kind, and you think, God, this man's a giant of a man, could kill us all if he wanted, and here he is just being the sweetest guy. And when I heard the news, I genuinely shed tears, because I thought, after all he's been through, for then the world to do this to him. Like, times are hard for a lot of people, but times can be cruel to some people, and it's just not fair. And I know from talking to this man what just a genuine, loving, caring person he is. And I can only imagine what a great father. What a great father he was. Because a man like him only gets through all that because he's got a lot of love inside of him. And I've got no doubt that baby boy, who was only, I think, 15 months old or something, spurred him on to go and try and take those unwinnable fights in a lot of people's eyes. And I've got no doubt he was in that ring swinging for that boy. And he put an Instagram post out that said, "Too soon to leave, but he's gone. My little boy, my mate, my partner Kobe, was full of life and joy. Now he's laying without life. I shouted his name over and over, but he's not responding. I was my best self next to him, and now I have no clue who I am. Life is so unfair to hit us where it hurts the most. How do you deal with such a thing? How can you live with it? Please help me if you have an idea, because I really don't know what to do and how to deal with this." It's just the most beautiful and painful thing I think I've ever read. That, and thoughts and prayers to Francis. Yeah, everyone needs to send him as much love and support as they can, in my opinion, because in a world full of like alpha males and a lot of arseholes in the fight community, not only is he one of the baddest dudes out there, but he's one of the kindest as well. And after everything he's been through, I'm gutted this has happened to him, and I just hope that he can get through it, and he deserves all the love and support in the world. And thoughts and prayers are with the Ngannou family.